Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the mind of one of philosophy's heavyweights, Immanuel Kant. His ideas about morality are, well, they're intense, but they might just change how you look at the world.
All right, let's kick things off with a question. Picture this. You're in a tough spot. A little lie, a tiny one, could get you out of a whole lot of trouble. What do you do? I mean, most of us, we'd probably start weighing the pros and cons, right? But what if? What if there was a way to know for sure if something was right or wrong, no matter what happened next? That's the puzzle Immanuel Kant was determined to crack.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to follow Kant on his quest for a universal moral law. We'll look at what he called the unconditionally good, then we'll get into his ultimate moral test. After that, we'll see his big rule for humanity, figure out his wild idea about us being the lawmakers, and finally connect it all back to why it still matters today. Okay, first up, if you're going to build a whole system of morality from the ground up, you need a rock-solid foundation. So Kant started with a really basic but huge question. Is there anything in the entire universe that's good no matter what? Good without any strings attached? So let's think about it. What do we usually call good? Intelligence? Courage? Happiness? Kant looks at all of these and says, nope, not quite. Think about it. A super smart person can be a master criminal. Courage can be used for terrible things. And you can't really call happiness good if it comes from watching someone else suffer. Kant says all those things are only sometimes good. The only thing that's good, in and of itself, is what he calls the good will. That's it. It's the intention to do good just for the sake of doing good.
And this is where it gets really wild. Kant is saying that the results of your actions don't actually matter for morality. It's all about your intention. So let's say you try with all your might to save someone, but you fail horribly. According to Kant, your action was still 100% morally good because your will, your intention, was good. He said a good will shines like a jewel, all on its own, whether it achieves anything or not.
Okay, so if it's all about having a pure intention, how do we know our intentions are pure? Well, Kant's answer is a really key word: duty. He says, for an action to be truly moral, you have to do it from a sense of duty, not just, in line with your duty. What does that mean? It means you do it because it's the right thing to do, period. Not because it makes you feel good or because you'll get something out of it. Here's a great example he gives. Imagine a shopkeeper who doesn't overcharge an inexperienced kid. Looks like a good deed, right? But what if he only did it because he was afraid of his business getting a bad reputation? Kant would say that action has zero moral worth. It looks like the right thing, but he did it for selfish reasons. It follows the rule, but not from a sense of duty. Now, flip that. Imagine someone who just loves helping people. It makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside. Kant would say, that's nice, that's lovely, but it's not the highest form of morality. Why? Because it's based on a feeling. But now, picture that same person going through a terrible time. They're consumed by their own sorrow, they feel completely numb, they get zero pleasure from helping anyone. And yet, they drag themselves up and help someone simply because they know it's their duty. For Kant, that right there is an act of pure, genuine moral worth. So, this all leads to the million-dollar question. Okay, fine, duty. But how in the world do we know what our duty is in any given situation? Don't worry, Kant's got a tool for that. It's his most famous idea, and it's called the categorical imperative. Before we dive in, we gotta get one term down: maxim. It sounds super academic, but it's really simple. A maxim is just the personal rule you're following when you do something. So, back to our example. If you lie to get out of trouble, your maxim is something like, whenever I'm in a bind, it's okay for me to tell a lie. And here it is, the big one, the categorical imperative. Basically, Kant gives us a stress test for our maxims. Before you act, you have to ask yourself one question. What if everyone in the world had to follow the same rule I'm about to follow? Could I honestly, rationally want that to be universal law? You can think of it as a three-step process. Step 1, what's my maxim? What's the personal rule here? Step 2, universalize it. Let's pretend this rule just became a law of physics for every single person on Earth. And step 3, the magic step. Check for a contradiction. Does this new universal law somehow break itself? Does it make the thing you wanted to do in the first place totally pointless? Let's run that lying promise through the test. Maxim, I'll make false promises when it helps me out. Okay, now universalize it. Imagine a world where everybody lies whenever it's convenient. What happens to the idea of a promise? it completely disappears, right? It becomes meaningless. No one would ever believe anyone else. So in that world, you couldn't even make a lying promise because the very institution of promise-keeping would have been destroyed. The maxim self-destructs. Boom, morally wrong. Now, that universal law test is pretty amazing, but Kant wasn't done. He gave us another version of the categorical imperative, a different lens to look at the same idea. And this one is all about human dignity. Seriously, this might be one of the most important ideas ever written down. What he's saying is that every rational person, you, me, everyone, has a special kind of value, an absolute worth. And because of that, you can never, ever treat another person only as a means to an end. You can't just use them like a tool to get what you want. He makes this super clear distinction. You have things and you have persons. A hammer is a thing. Its value is based on what I can do with it. But a person has their own goals, their own life, their own reason. They are an end in themselves. So when you lie to someone to get their money, you're not respecting them as a person. You're treating them like an ATM, a thing. You're violating their fundamental personhood. And this special absolute value that we all have, Kant has a word for it: dignity. It's not like a price. It's not something you can buy or sell or even earn. You just have it because you're a rational being who can think about morality. And that dignity, he says, demands respect. So, let's back up for a second. If morality isn't about making yourself happy or about the consequences or even about what a higher power tells you, then where the heck do these moral laws come from? Kant's answer to this was absolutely groundbreaking. He said that most moral systems are based on heteronomy, another fancy word, but it just means law from the outside. You follow the rules because you're scared of getting in trouble or you want a reward. But Kant says no, true morality comes from autonomy. Auto means self, nomos means law. It's self-law. The moral rules aren't pushed on us from the outside. They come from inside, from our own capacity for reason. In a way, we are our own moral lawmakers. And this completely redefines what it means to be free. You know, we usually think freedom is just doing whatever you want, following your impulses. But Kant would say that's not freedom, that's just being a slave to your desires. For him, real freedom is using your reason to choose to follow the moral law that you yourself created. It's self-mastery. Okay, I know this is a lot of heavy 200-year-old philosophy, so why does any of it still matter? Well, it matters because these ideas are literally all around us, shaping our world in ways we don't even realize. So, let's just do a quick recap of the whole shebang. For Kant, morality starts with the goodwill, the intention. You test your actions by asking if they could be a universal law. The whole system is built on the idea that every person has dignity and can't be used as a mere tool. And we're only truly free and moral when we live by the laws we give ourselves. And the legacy of this? It's huge. I mean, think about the concept of universal human rights. The idea that every single human being has a basic dignity and certain rights just because they're human? That is pure Kant. His philosophy is the intellectual foundation for so much of our modern understanding of justice and rights.
So what Kant really does is put the ball in our court. The responsibility for morality isn't out there somewhere. It's right here, inside each of us, in our ability to reason. He leaves us with this powerful question. It's not what should I do, but what is the rule behind my action? And could I truly want it to be the rule for everyone? So, I'll leave you with that. What's one rule you live by that you think could actually pass the test? What's your universal law?